the Indian government has clamped down the dumping from China. So we'll understand what dumping is, and subsequently we'll see the anti-dumping and countervailing duties, which are very important for your UPSC examination. So let's start with a question on anti-dumping. The question states that consider the following statements with reference to anti-dumping duties. Statement 1 is, it is applicable to both import and export related goods and services. No, absolutely not. It's related to import and import only, not the export products. Second, imposing anti-dumping duties will lead to widening of the trade deficit. It will not widen the deficit, it can rather close the deficit. So this is also wrong. We'll understand as we move ahead. The correct answer would be neither 1 nor 2. So first let's see what is the news. The news is that over 1/3 of anti-dumping duties which were levied in cases in financial year 2022 were on either on the sole producers or on two producers. What do we mean by that? That of a particular thing which is produced by a sole single producer, sort of a monopoly, or on two producers, sort of a duopoly, two players. So majority of it was imposed on such players. Okay. More interestingly, the thing is, we always say na Chinese product, it's let's say floating in the Indian market a lot. Everything you see here and there is Chinese. So let us have a look at this. Of the 46 anti-dumping duties levied, total 46 anti-dumping duties were levied in the last 3 fiscal years. 60% were on the goods originating only in China. So 60% of the goods originating only in China, meaning about 25 goods where duties were imports were originating only in China, and the other 26% were originating in China and at least one other country. How can a single product originate in China and another country as well? Because it can so happen that it was manufactured somewhere, the pieces, then assembled somewhere, so on and so forth. So but the Chinese involvement was still there. This 60% directly from China, the other 26% China plus another country, so China is still involved. So majority of the dumping duties were imposed on the products originating from China. Now, interestingly, Finance Ministry levied anti-dumping duties. They levy it. The Ministry of Commerce recommends it. The Ministry of Finance levies it. Now, this year around in the fiscal year 2024, they have levied it on 86% of the products which was recommended by the Ministry of Commerce. Previously, this percentage was only 42%. What does this mean? Previously, whatever the number of products the Ministry of Commerce used to, let's say, recommend, around 42% was actually levied by Finance Ministry. This time the percentage has increased to 86. So now the main question. The main question is, what is anti-dumping duty? Taxes imposed. It is nothing but the taxes imposed on imported goods. Imported goods. Remember, in the question it was import plus export. No, not import plus export, only imported goods. In order to compensate for what? The difference between their export price and their normal value. Now, this is where you need to understand. What happens is, when a country is exporting the product to another country, they would want to be it as cheaper as possible at times, so that the other country people want it more. So China would want the products to be very cheap in India so that we buy it more. So that when we buy it more volume of product is sold, more value would keep on increasing. So they want to keep it low. So if they are, what is dumping? It's not that you cannot sell your products in India, but if you are selling it at a very cheaper rate, very cheap rate, what will happen? First of all, too many of this product we will be inclined to buy because it is cheap. Secondly, what will happen is, the industry in India which manufactures this product, what will happen to that industry? That industry would not be able to survive because there is another product which is cheaper and your product is costlier. So how will the company survive? That is an issue. So very cheap product would increase the import value. Import volume definitely will increase. Value may or may not increase. Also hampers you can say national manufacturers, and hence the government would come up with anti-dumping duties, and a proper research would be done as to what is the actual rate of this product in the market and how cheap they have made. So whatever the difference, that amount of anti-dumping duty would be imposed on that product. That is your anti-dumping duty. Now, this anti-dumping duty can be imposed under the guidelines of World Trade Organization. Okay, but when the government imposes it, the government needs to show that dumping actually took place. Dumping as in the market outside, in their home market, the price is more, but when they are exporting to us, they are making it cheap. That needs to be established by the government, that dumping is happening. Also, they have to showcase the extent of dumping that is happening. What is the amount difference, that also needs to be showcased. And the injury or threat caused to the domestic market. Because the product is cheap, there might be an injury or a threat to the local market, to the local manufacturers. What is that amount? That also needs to be showcased. After showcasing these things, you can implement the anti-dumping duty. Now, of course, when a government implements anti-dumping duty, it safeguards the manufacturers, but for the consumer, what will happen? The price will go up. So that's what this point talks about. Intention of anti-dumping duties is to protect the local businesses and markets, but these tariffs can lead to higher prices for domestic consumers. For us, the things can become costlier, but that's all right, because we need to safeguard our industries which generate jobs, employment, of course, and runs the economy as well. Now, a similar concept is countervailing duty. What is the only difference? Countervailing duty is also imposed on the imported products, but they are imposed not when the product is cheaper, but they are imposed when they are cheaper because of the subsidies, right? In those products, anti-dumping duty, there was no subsidy. The product was either made cheaper, sold cheaper just to capture the market without subsidies. When it is the government subsidies which are making it cheaper, in that case the tariff that is imposed is called as countervailing duty. I hope that's clear. Let us see the difference between the two. So anti-dumping duty imposed to prevent the low priced foreign goods from damaging the local market, right? Whereas countervailing duty will apply to the foreign products again, okay? But which foreign products? That enjoy the government subsidies, the subsidies which the products to which the subsidies are given, right? Because the subsidies are given, the prices will be lower. So for such products also you can apply a tariff, and that would be your countervailing duty. Now, the amount of anti-dumping duty will depend upon the margin of the dumping. So what was the actual market cost in the host country minus what is the export cost? Export cost. So if the market cost was, let's say, 100, and in India they want to sell it at 50, so 100 minus 50 is 50, so 50 rupees worth of anti-dumping duty would be imposed. CVD amount will completely depend on what? The subsidy. So if the subsidy was of 100 rupees, you then impose a tariff of 100 rupees. So this is what anti-dumping duty and countervailing duties are. Specifically remember their points of distinguishment, because these would be the points on which the questions, especially for prelims, would be framed.